Welcome to Living Life and Love.
I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. This is a global vitiligo awareness and education podcast. You hear the true and authentic stories from people living with vitiligo. Yeah. You'll also hear from their loved ones, medical professionals, licensed mental health therapists, relationship counselors, global vitiligo support foundations, organizations, community leaders, and so much more. Stay back and enjoy living life in love.
Once again, I'm your host,
Mark Braxton. Raleigh, North Carolina.
Welcome to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. So on today's show, I have Adriene Jones. Welcome, Adriene. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. So I know this is your first time on the podcast, and we're going to have a great conversation. I know sometimes people get a little fearful. I get it. I'll tell you my story a little bit later about being on the podcast. But before we get started with our conversation, I always like to ask my guests to introduce themselves officially, and then we'll jump into our conversation. Just share with us, your name and where you're from, and anything else from there.
Okay. My name is Adriene Jones. I'm from New York. Well, originally from New York, born and raised. I just moved to South Carolina about 10 months ago. And that's it.
Wow. I would say welcome to the South.
Thank you.
Are you enjoying the Southern heat?
Yes, I am.
I'm not. Look, we've been hitting 105, 106. I'm like, y'all can keep that. I'm done with the heat. I'm looking forward to the wintertime. But once again, welcome. Welcome down to the South. And, hopefully you're enjoying yourself, getting accustomed to being in the South. I know things are a little bit different from being in New York, coming down to, you said South Carolina. So, but yeah, welcome. But we're going to talk about vitiligo, because this is a vitiligo podcast. Although I like to talk to other people about different topics. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about vitiligo. We'll talk about your journey. We'll also talk about treatments, and we'll discuss the conference. And then from there, we'll wrap things up. So let's start it off. We know we all have a vitiligo journey, and everybody's journey is so different. Just share with us when you first developed your first vitiligo spot, and what were your thoughts and feelings about it?
So the first time I noticed something was I had like a light spot on my cheek. I didn't think much of it. I just, went with it, whatever. But then, let me see, that was in I'm gonna say 2014, early 2014. So I started getting another light spot over my eyebrow. And I think I waited some months before I decided to go to the dermatologist.
Right.
And when she told me that it was vitiligo, I've heard of vitiligo, but I didn't know anything about vitiligo.
Right.
So I'm like, she gave me a cream to use and I started doing that, but hoping that it would go away. But in the process, I had started wearing a light makeup just to cover those two spots.
Right. Yeah. Everybody's journey is kind of like that. In the beginning, the one spot that starts, my spot started on my hand. And, I was working at an artisan for a stained glass company. And I didn't think anything of it. I figured, I cut myself. I got a little, scab, and maybe it fell off. And I'm looking like, wait a minute, there's another spot over here, and started noticing spots. I didn't get a lot of discoloration on my face. Around my mouth, yes. Down on my facial hair, when I cut my facial hair, you can see it. But I'm just starting to see development coming up, moving up my neck and more on my face, and this spot right here is vitiligo. So I think it's different for everybody, you know. And when you see that first spot, you're like, uh-oh, what is that? You know. Now, you said you didn't know much about it, and that was back in 2014. And I developed my vitiligo in 1996. And I feel like I didn't know a lot either, but I knew somebody with vitiligo, but I still didn't know what to call it. You know, I just knew his skin looked different, and it was like, well, that's Terrell. You know, like, you know, I didn't think anything of it, and I never thought years later I would develop vitiligo. You know, how did it? I would say emotionally, because we don't always talk about our emotions and feelings with vitiligo. How did it impact you emotionally?
Okay, so it definitely caught me off guard. Again, it developed on my face. At that time, I was 42, 43. And, you know, females, your faces, everything, whatever. So I started, my confidence became lower than it was. Again, it started spreading more. It was like a lot on my face. And I went in, I mean, I had to go to work. I went to work, but again,
Right.
I was covering it with some makeup. But yeah, my confidence is horrible. Like I wouldn't go out as much as I, you know, I mean, I didn't go out that much, but I wouldn't go out without makeup.
Right.
If I knew we was taking pictures or something, I mean, I was gonna go somewhere to take pictures, I made sure I had makeup. I wouldn't do anything without having my makeup with me.
Right. Right. Yeah, I think that's the challenge, is that the confidence, your self-esteem, the insecurity set in. And I'm gonna say I get it. Although I didn't have much on my face, except for around my mouth, and you know, and I've heard people ask, "What's wrong with your mouth?" I'm like, vitiligo, you know. But that is the biggest, I think, aspect of vitiligo that a lot of people don't know. It impacts your confidence. It impacts your. It brings out. I feel like it brings out every insecurity you've ever had. You know,
Yeah.
and although it might not be vitiligo related, now I feel like, well, I got hyperpigmentation around my neck. Oh, now I see that even more, you know, because vitiligo, I feel like it makes these things stand out. Um, and then I think the challenge is trying to figure out, how do you regain your confidence? How do you get that back in this process? Because I'm gonna say it's a process. It doesn't happen overnight, and it doesn't happen all the time. Like, there are days I'm good, and there are days I'm like, I'm not good. You know, so how did you? Well, where are you at in that spectrum? Are you doing better with your confidence, or it here and there? Does it, you know, come and go, or how's that?
Okay, well, like 90% much better than it was back at the
Right,
beginnings. Like I said, I was very insecure, and it was on my face, not so my hand. It was on just my face. So,
right,
um, my self-esteem was low. You know, of course, your family, that like, or and friends are like, we don't see that, and
yeah,
you know, the beauty from your inside, it shows. Like everybody knows you're still the same person, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but what you mean you don't see it? Like,
right, right,
I look in the mirror, that's all I see. You know, I know we are our worst critics or whatever,
right,
but I someone told me about a vitiligo support group on Facebook.
right.
I don't remember
Okay,
the name of the place. It was so, I mean, the name of it, but because I've joined so many. But following certain people kind of helped me out with that. Actually, Sharon King was one, and
okay,
at the
good.
time, um, Ayumiko, she was one, and then Lydia.
Hmm.
So you
Yes,
know, I would just follow them. I never said anything. I would just follow them, hear their stories and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just helped me to accept it a little more.
right,
Um, Also seeing and realizing like there's so many other people out there with it, which I had no idea,
right,
you know, because I never really seen anybody with, I mean, I had a family member through marriage that had it, and I was very young when I remember seeing that. But other than that, I would never really see anybody with it. So now at this point, like 12 years later, I mean, I'm accepting of it. Uh it's crazy, but like I went through treatments and stuff like that, whatever.
Okay.
So people don't see what I had on my face except for
Right.
over the eye or whatever. But my confidence is much, much better than what it was. And I think the more I talked about it is what it was. The more I talked
Right.
about it to people or whoever, it, putting that awareness out there, like it helped me. That's what helped
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
And you talk about you mentioned support communities. I didn't know any of that existed.
Mm.
Like you said, I only knew one person. We went to high school together. No, he went to a different high school, but he was always at my school, so I thought he went to my school. And we went to college together, but I never saw anybody else at vitiligo. Um, and then when I started developing vitiligo, I'm like, it's just me. And you kind of feel like that world is so small. There's nobody else out there. And I struggled. And I never talked about it. I never mentioned it to, if I was in a relationship, never talked about that, never talked about it to my family. Nobody. I just kind of tried to deal and manage. But then it gets to a point where you kind of like, I need help. And Katrina, that's the leader from North Carolina, we're co-leaders. She had been reaching out to me for about 3 years. And I was like, nah, I don't need that. I got her card, but I'm not going to, man, I don't need that mess. And I needed it, but I just didn't know. I didn't know how to approach it. And once I did, and I saw all the people at vitiligo, I'm like, hey, we got all these people here at vitiligo. And I'm like, cool. But I didn't know anything about the conferences. I had no idea until I joined the community in 2019. That's when I started getting involved. So you think from 96 to 2019, I just kind of tried to manage on my own. It was hard. Back then I would never have admitted it was challenging. But in 2019, I said, I need some help because I'm watching myself change and I can't stop it. When I went to a dermatologist, I was given the cream. I only had it on my hands, mind you, that now I look back, I'm like, that cream was only for the face. But he still had me go get the cream to put it on my hands, knowing it wasn't going to help me. And but I'm glad I took that step. I'm glad I said, okay, I need help, because if not, I can imagine even now I could still be struggling with it and not say a word. Because as men, sometimes we're stubborn. We just gonna work. I'm good. Just gonna work, come home, and I don't want to talk about it. Now I'm good, and we're really not. You know, but I think having that conversation with other people is important. Not only are you making them aware, but you're also educating them as well. And the big thing is you're human. I'm a person just like you. Now, what you said about what family has said, I don't see it. Like, right. You don't see all these spots on me. Come on now. You may not talk about it. You may know me on a different level, but you definitely see it. You know. And I often say, when people say it doesn't matter or it doesn't impact me, of course not. You're not the one living in my skin. You have to deal with the stares, the comments, the people that you can tell are afraid of you. How did you deal with that? When you I know what you do here. Were you doing the same thing up in New York, the same occupation?
Yes.
So how did you manage when you had to interact with people? Maybe not all the time, but when you interacted with them and you knew somebody was kind of afraid to talk to you or afraid to touch your hand, or the stares.
Honestly, like for like I said, a couple of years, people didn't even know. But I'm trying to remember, like, when did I start? Nobody was really saying. I think when I stopped wearing makeup,
Yeah.
and because I've never been a makeup person. I don't have the time. Like, I just never dealt with that. Like, so to keep doing it, you know, as it spread, became a lot more. And I think once I did so I did treatments, which was a UV
Okay.
treatment, lighting, and some ointment they gave me. This was the first time I did treatment, and that was back in 2000. I'm gonna say 2016, something like that. So that actually gave me some pigment back.
Right.
So when that happened, I think that's when I started. It just was like, okay, it is what it is. Because I did the treatment for like a year, whatever, and then I just got tired of doing it and making those copays.
Right.
I just was like, you know what, it is what it is. It wasn't as bad as it was the first couple of years. So I was like, you know what, I was going to work and everything. Nobody was like, I don't know if people were scared to say anything to me, but nobody really was saying anything to me. And the
Right.
people that I dealt with, I mean, I had been at that job for, well, now it's been 28 years, but I've been at that job for 20 something years. So it's like, people just accepted me for what I was. And at that time, I only had it, I had it on my face. I started like having it on my elbows and my hands within the last, I'm gonna say, what's this? Maybe 4 years the most, 4
Okay.
years. I just started getting it on my hands. So I didn't, you know, like I said, they just accepted me for what it was. I didn't have that problem at work. Now, I was more self-conscious about like if I was taking public transportation and
Right.
stuff like that, is when I would feel uncomfortable at times if people are staring. But a lot of times I would just try to brush it off and like,
Right.
you know, whatever. I think the hardest thing is like when the kids is looking or asking me, what's wrong? What's that? What's wrong with your hand?
Right.
Whatever. It's like, I never, still to today, it's like so hard to try to explain to them because they don't, they wouldn't understand it. At least that's what I think. I don't know how to explain it to kids. I just tell them, oh, I have vitiligo. I say that's a skin disease that, you know, it just changes your complexion. But
Yeah.
that's all I can say. I don't know
That's
what
it.
else to say.
That's it.
But
Look.
other people just, I've had people just walk up to me and and just say, "Oh, you're beautiful. I love your skin," and this and that,
Right.
whatever. And I think that's another thing too. I get most positive compliments than
Right.
negative.
Right.
Like here and there, I might have had not so much negative, just like, "Oh, what you do? You got burnt, or
Right.
like what happened to your skin?" But other than that, it's been positive. Like, so I think that helps boost my confidence too.
Yeah. I think the world is in a different place where we're more accepting of differences. And I think we as the adults sometimes forget. We still remember how things were in the 70s and 80s when you talked about people, we can call them things that now is not appropriate. And we make fun of people. That's what we did. Now we're living in a time where people are trying to accept, okay, I'm different. You're different, but I still see you, you know. And I think that's what we have to remember when we talk about our kids too, because I know sometimes we say the poor kids are bullied. I'm a school teacher, and none of the students that have come to my school have been bullied. I guess for one, because I do presentations. You know, hey, let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. This is what vitiligo is. This is what it isn't. Where people just like you treat us as such, you know. And like you said, when you talk to a child and ask you what it is, I always tell them I have a loss of color in my skin. I said, and that's it. I said, it's not contagious. I can't give it to you. It just makes me look different. In the discussion. And after that, they're good. They might say, can I touch it? And I'm like, oh gosh, here we go. No, it's just skin. There's nothing different about it. It's just skin. It's just pale, you know. But I think though we're in a better place where people are learning more about vitiligo, understanding what it's like for people living with it and accepting that I'm going to see somebody. I might see somebody who looks different because there's so many other things that people live with as well. You know, somebody may have a birth defect or, you know, something that makes them look different. They're still a person, you know, they just look different. And I feel like in your curiosity, if you want to know, just ask. Now, I have had, and I mentioned this on a different podcast. I had a kid. He asked me if I was mixed. I was like, well, my family's got a little bit of everything. He said, no, because you're black and white. And I was like, oh, I wasn't thinking about that. I was like, no, I have what's called vitiligo. He said, but your skin is black and white. Yes, but I have vitiligo. That's not mixed in what he's thinking, but he's seeing black and white, the big difference there. And then I'm gonna sit there going, why are you talking to a stranger? Go back to your group and go hang out with your people. But kids are curious. They want to know these things. I think adults are curious, but I think the adults are more afraid to ask, hey, can you tell me a little bit more about your skin? Good. We're going to have a conversation. Let's talk about it, and I think that's why awareness and education is so important. And what you're doing is still advocating for yourself. Now, I'm going to say it is hard, though, being out in public at times. I think about if I'm going to a restaurant, I'll go to restaurants by myself. I don't care. If I'm hungry, I'm going to go sit down and eat. If I have on shorts, I'm like, okay, got to do it. Got to do it. I'm hungry. I'm going to walk in front of all these people. I don't care what they think. I'm going to do it. Or sometimes I will force myself to go in places that I normally wouldn't go into to get over my own anxiety. Okay, I'm going to go into this Walmart. I know it's going to be packed. It's going to be full of people. I'm going to go in there with my shorts. They're going to see all my white spots on my legs, all my ankles. They're going to see my hands. Good. And, I know people are looking, but I think for me, that's my challenge to myself. Mark, you're doing what normal people would do, and you're normal. You're shopping. That's what we're here for. Yeah, your skin looks different. If they want to know, they can ask. If not, they don't mind their business. Go buy their stuff and go. That's how I see it. So in dealing with the anxiety, insecurities, and all that stuff, let's shift a little bit. What are things that you do to help you get through some of the challenges of not necessarily just living with vitiligo, but just being a person? Because, a lot of times we do talk about vitiligo, but we keep forgetting that's a part of you, but not all of you. So like when you are just having a rough day or whatever, what do you do to help you just kind of relax, kind of say, okay, the day is over. Let me do this.
Honestly, a lot is one or two things. I'm going to go and lay down, go to sleep.
Okay.
I don't know. It's like my bed is my comfort zone, my sanctuary. I like to lay down. I'll go to sleep and then wake up like, okay. Or I might go, if I'm feeling down on out, whatever. Might not be a good thing, but I go to the mall or something. I go shopping.
Hey, everybody has their own therapy. Look, everybody has their own therapy. If you're not going to the mall, we buying stuff on Amazon or, I get it. Like, for me, I like to draw. I like to write. That I could do that all day. I'll be in there for hours working on a new poem and turning it into a song and having fun with it. Whereas it's not work. It's fun, but there are days I like to go for a walk when it's not hot. When it's 100 degrees, I'm not going outside. I'm good. I'm not going out there to burn up. But yeah, I think as a community, we have to explore those things that really help us in those moments. I'll call them moments. You hear me say that a lot, because our insecurities don't always stay there. I might be insecure in this moment, but the next moment I'm good, But when you get home, it's like, who are you outside of vitiligo? Because we're not. I don't advocate 24/7. I don't.
Right.
I don't spread awareness and education 24/7. There are days I can go and I forget that I have vitiligo, and it's weird because I'm like, well, I know what I have. I know what I look like. When I get up tomorrow morning, I know I got to go to school and teach. I'm not thinking about vitiligo. When I get off work, I'm trying to get home so I can relax because I'm tired. Like you said, you hit the bed and knock out, or I might watch something on TV, but I'm not thinking 24/7. Oh, my skin. I do look at it, but I'm not thinking about it. There are times I'm like, oh, there's another spot. Oh, well, move on. What's next? And one of the things I want us to do as a community, and maybe this will happen in the future, just explore who we are. Like, what talents did we bring to the table? as a vitiligo community, because I feel like I said before, that's just vitiligo is a part of us, but it's not all of us, you know. Let's backtrack a little bit and talk about treatments. What are your thoughts on treatments now? I know you said you've tried them. Where do you stand on treatments now? Then I'll kind of share my thoughts as well.
Well, I don't know. Okay, so the first time I did treatments back then, it was because I was really want to change. Like I
Right,
didn't want this. I wanted to go on.
right,
Uh, like I said, I did that for a year. Again, that was back in 2016, whatever. Again, I tried the treatments with the UV lighting and ointments again. That was let me see, dermatologist. That was a year ago. Oh no. I actually stopped in September. So about a year I did that again too.
okay,
Um, but it's like to the point that I mean, it works a little or whatever, but it's just time consuming.
right,
And okay, I forgot. I did try the Opsilura.
mhm,
They gave me that, and I did the UV lighting. So at the same time, so it did get it did get most of my color back.
right,
And like I said, and now I'm at the point again. It's been over a year, so I stopped like September. It's been about a year. I haven't did any treatment or nothing. So I guess if to each his own.
right, right,
Um, I'm satisfied. I'm okay how I am right now.
right.
You know, that's yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't struggle with the idea of treatment. I say people that want it, you're gonna get treated. And I support you on that. I am in. I've mentioned this before in another podcast. I'm in my second phase of vitiligo. For the longest, I've always had, the spots on my hands, arms, legs, feet, torso. But I had one spot for about 20 years, just a little spot on my neck. And just recently it started moving, creeping up into my face. And I have two spots in the corner of my eyes. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I get the treatment or do I not? Because my thoughts with treatment is that it's not a cure. It's a treatment. And you're meant to use it for a long period of time. And I've heard some of the same things you mentioned, like you get tired after a while. Oh, I'm tired of doing this. And then you just accept this is who I am. This is what I've been given in life. Um, and I struggle with the idea. Do I get treated if I get more spots in my face? I don't know. I'm starting to see a little light spot on the side. I'm like, this is just, but it's me. I'm like, it's just me. And I don't know. That's where I'm at. I don't know what my next phase is gonna look like. I don't know if I want to get treated or not. If I do, that'll be a decision I make. And will it be a long-term decision? Probably not, because trying to keep something all the time and gotta remember, just want to get up and go. So I don't know. And I was having a conversation with someone from Insight, and I said, one of my concerns is putting the treatment so close to my eye, just in that spot. She said, well, you can put it there, it's not going to hurt you. And I'm still like, I don't know. Do I want the hassle? I mean, people know I have vitiligo. So, and I'm not hiding from the world. So I'll just deal with it, I guess. And that's what I'm at. I still don't know. And I'm good not being treated. Like when I look at like my feet, my legs, I'm like, they're white. I mean, and spots. Like I'm not going to put anything to change them. It is what it is. If you don't like it, that's fine. It's my journey. It's my skin. Now, one of the things I always thought was interesting as a community, we always tell people to love the skin you're in. Yeah. I love me. I love who I am as a person. I love these things about me, my talents, and all the things I can do and all this stuff. But when I look at vitiligo, I'm like, do I really love having vitiligo? I, I'm like, no, because it's an autoimmune disease. So I don't love the fact that I have an autoimmune disease, but I love who I am. Like that's that thing. I'm like, I said, and not one time in my life did I ever go to sleep and pray and say, "Hey, Jesus, can you give me some vitiligo, please?" Because I never did that. There are times I'm like, I wish I had one complexion, but I have multiple complexions now. And it has allowed me to be in a space that I probably would never have been in if I didn't have vitiligo, like being at the conferences and going to the scientific symposium and doing all this stuff. And no, I probably would never have gone some of the places if I didn't have vitiligo. So that's a plus for me. But if I could have an option of having my regular skin tone versus having vitiligo, I want my regular skin tone. That's what I want. But I accept this is my journey right now. So let's talk about that journey. I mentioned conferences. So you had your first conference. What took you so long?
Okay. For one, I didn't know about conferences either.
Yep.
I think, okay, so this was my first conference. I actually tried to make the one, I think 2 years prior when it was in Atlanta.
Okay.
But my finances didn't allow me to do that.
Trust me, I understand.
But that year, because I was with the New York Community Support Group, which,
with
Pat, yes.
Pat Rossi,
and
yeah.
I went to their Christmas thing with Miss Valerie. I went to did that with them, and they was telling me, "Oh, you need to go to a conference, whatever." And I'm like, "Okay." I mean, I would love to, So it took me
that money
for about 4 years to actually make a conference, but I'm so happy that I did.
We're glad you made it too. Yes,
I had a great time. It was just awesome to see the people that can relate, that you could be free with. You don't have to worry about hiding, doing anything. It was just
absolutely
such a great time. And I can't wait for next year. So
awesome. Yeah. And you know what? I miss 2016, 17, 18, 19. I didn't know anything about the conferences. I had no idea. I didn't know. And then when I came on board in 2019, the next conference was virtual because of COVID. So it was different because I'm watching everybody on the screen like now, and I'm like, oh, this is exciting, but I don't know these people, And I remember one conversation, somebody mentioning they were turning white and they were losing their identity as a Black man. I'm going, no, you're still Black. I don't care how much pigmentation you lose. Yes, your outer shell may present as a lighter person, but you are Black. Trust me. Go out there and speed down the highway. They're going to show you you're Black. Go out there. Your features don't change. It's just your color, And I know we put our identity so much into the color of our skin, but you are still who you are. You still have your morals, values, all that stuff. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. And that was my first experience with a conference. And then same thing for 2021. But then when I went to Minnesota, and I was doing the podcast for VitFriends at the time. I started doing that in 2020. And then I went to Minnesota, and it was interesting because I had a chance to see all the people that I've only seen in this little box. And I was like, wow, you're a real person for real. It was different. And even Valerie, I had worked with Valerie and Pat and who else? Gosh, I'm forgetting everybody's name. Names. Millie was there, and all the people that I had, because I was on their board also. So all the people I've worked with for a long time, but never saw them in person until I went to my first conference. And I was like, wow. But it's like a family reunion. This is your family, And like you said, there's no judgment. Well, what am I going to judge you for? You don't have the same spots. I mean, come on now. We all have vitiligo. Everybody in that place has vitiligo, or they support somebody with vitiligo. So it was fun to see everybody. I was telling Melissa on the last podcast I did, I had a different view from everybody else because I had to be up there as an MC. So when you're sitting in the audience, you only see your table and the smiles and all the things happening. But from on the stage, I could see everybody. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. It was a lot of work, but pretty cool. Seeing everybody happy laughing, talking to each other. You know, it was just like this is what it is to have a sense of community, support, you know, and it's more than that, it is a family. Because once you go to one conference, you want to come back. Yeah. It could be a little pricey. The conference, honestly, the conference itself is cheap. I mean, you pay for the conference, that's $100. You get all that for $100, but your hotel and your flight. And I don't know what it is from South Carolina to Dallas, but I fly to Dallas all the time. My kids live in Dallas. Yeah, it can be a little pricey. So keep that in mind if you're looking for tickets. Yeah.
I'm gonna start early saving.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, so what was your highlight of the conference?
Highlight.
Yep.
I liked how we was able to talk with the doctors and they can explain the different treatments and
Right.
about vitiligo and all of that. I think the main thing was the women's breakout.
Right.
It was very emotional, and it felt like everybody was there to support each other.
Right.
And I feel like it should have been a little longer, but I think that was the highlight for me.
We're looking at, hopefully they'll move it next year. What they should do is move the doctors to the morning session, so everybody can hear from the doctors, not the breakout for the doctors, but the actual doctors sharing their different reports. And then that way the breakout room could be longer. If it needs to extend into the break, you can do that. So you live and learn. You find out what works, what doesn't work. And I think with it being such a large conference this year, we realized we didn't have enough time with so many people. So yeah, hopefully next year, it more than likely will probably sell out again next year. So they're going to look at a bigger venue, and we'll have more time for the breakout room, because the breakout rooms are very important. Because you get to get together with, like you said, the women are together, the men are together, family members, and you get to open up. And there's no judgment. Like, you are sharing from your heart,
Yeah.
And another highlight, at least for myself, because I didn't get a chance to attend the breakout room because I was trying to make sure everybody was good, and I had to make sure we had the next thing set up. Yeah. But I enjoyed I enjoyed the entertainment this year. Like, I'm gonna tell you something. the fashion show, that wasn't my thing. But they said, since you are going to be an MC, you're going to be in a fashion show. And I'm like, okay. So went backstage, and the guy, Skip, he's one of my fraternity brothers. So he was like, hey, I got an outfit for you. When he pulled out the shirt, I was like, oh, I got a vest too. All right. And I started putting on the outfit. They showed me the picture of what he wanted, and all I could think about is Zorro. I was like, oh, I'm Zorro. All I needed was a sword and a mask. That was it. But you have fun with it, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna have fun, Yeah. Oh.
You did good.
That's called getting out of your comfort zone and doing something you normally wouldn't do. That, yeah, I don't walk no fashion show. Now they're trying to have one locally. I'm like, okay. Yeah, it was fun though. And then I enjoyed, like, the MJ experience. He was fun. He was local right there in Charlotte. He had a great time. He didn't want to leave. He was just like, I just want to. He was enjoying himself just as much as we were. And I think that's what it's all about. Making other people feel comfortable to be with us and to be around us. To show that we know how to have a good time. That's what we were doing. We were having such a good time.
Right.
And I'm a big Panthers fan, so having the cheerleader and the mascot Sir Purr come out, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm good. That's me. Now you got to win the Super Bowl this year. So it was great. Like I said, it was a lot of work, but we felt like we had to make this a great conference for everybody. Didn't say perfect, say great.
Mhm.
Because not everything is gonna run perfectly. You gotta make changes here and changes there. And I was a little upset at one point because I didn't get the chance to eat on Friday, and we were on a stage giving Winnie her gifts, and they took all the food away. I watched the food like they taking the food. I didn't say anything right away. I was like, man, they took all the food. I was hungry. but we have fun, that's all that matters. We have fun,
Mhm.
and everybody was taken care of. There's always room for growth. There's always room for change with anything we do. This was the largest conference we've ever had. So yeah, usually I think we're at about 180, but this year we had three. They didn't give us the official numbers, but like maybe 340. It's like, yeah, that's a lot of people. So we made it work, and we were glad you were able to attend your first and not your last.
Right.
Not your last. And Dallas should be fun as well. And I think a lot of it is what we make of it when we go. Learn from the doctors, learn from each other how to live your life, because everybody's in different places, and accepting everybody and making everybody feel welcome is important. So we're gonna get to the end of this conversation because I gotta go eat. I'm hungry. I'm sorry. I say that on all the podcasts. I'm very
Okay.
upfront. I'm sitting there like, oh, I'm hungry now. I'll talk about food. Yeah. So, Adriene, I always ask my guests to leave our listeners with some type of words of encouragement. If you'll please do that, and then I'll wrap us up the way I normally do. Anything that comes to your heart. You can bring it from church. You can bring it from wherever you want.
Well, just be happy with who you are. Don't let the outside people, anybody discourage you. Just live for yourself.
Absolutely. I'll take that, because you know what? Because so many times we're trying to do things for other people, and we gotta. If you notice, it's called living life. You gotta live your life. You know,
Right.
Nobody else can do it for you. All the choices you make are your choices. Try to make the good choice for yourself. That's gonna help you move forward in your future. Put it that way. And you gotta live it. If you look at the other side with love, yeah, because you can't
Right.
can't do it without love.
Live
So
in
this is
love.
how absolutely. Well, thank you for being here. Don't hang up yet, but thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so let's get this conversation. First time at the conference, let's go ahead and talk. Let's do this. So I'm glad you're able to be here, and open to having a conversation, because
Yeah.
sometimes that is a hard thing. I forgot I was going to tell you about being on a podcast for the first time. So before I wrap things up, let me tell you that story. Valerie, yes, Valerie, if you're listening, I'm talking about you, Valerie. Valerie is like, I want you to come on the podcast and talk about your vitiligo journey. I was like, cool, sure. So who's going to interview me? Nobody. Yeah, I just got to get up there and just talk about my vitiligo. At that point, I have never talked about it. I didn't want to talk about it. I was like, all right, what do I want to talk about? Gosh, like it really put me in a different mindset. Like, how do I talk about my own journey? Because I never did. And after I got on the podcast and shared my story, I was like, oh, that felt good. Like, because I have never done that before. And she said, well, I want you to uh, lead the podcast, be my lead podcast host. And I was like, okay. So what do I do? Like, there's no script, nothing. So I had to come up with my own script, which is funny because I actually went to college. My degree is in mass communications, radio, TV, journalism, but I'm in teaching because I love teaching. So this kind of brought me full circle with doing the podcast, and I did it for a while. It had some family challenges, and I said I'm gonna take a break, and I took a break. Then I said I'll come back, but I want to do it in a different format, which is this way, where I can actually see the person, we can see each other, the audience can see you, and here's my show. So it's been a good experience. Like I said, I'll talk to anybody. Like, I feel like, you have vitiligo? Great, let's talk. You don't have vitiligo? Great, let's talk. Because there's always something to talk about. And that's how we normalize vitiligo. Like, we just have a conversation, I don't have to go, oh, I have vitiligo, so I stand. No, I don't have to do that. People gonna see it. They see my hands in the camera. They be like, oh, this vitiligo. Yeah, it is. So it is what it is. But,
Yeah.
but once again, Adriene, thank you for being here. Let me wrap things up. For the listeners, once again, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you like and share. You can make comments. I'll respond if I see it, or sometimes people send me a message and I'll send it back to them. But make sure you take some time to love people, because that's what's important. We are living in a world that we feel like love is kind of being pushed to the side, and we're starting to see more hate to come in. We got to get rid of that. And the only way we can do it, we have to show that we love each other, regardless of your social economic background, regardless of your ethnicity, regardless of your demographics. None of that matters. Just love people for who they are. And most of all, before you could do that for anybody else, you got to take time to say to yourself, I love you too. Because if you don't love you, how you going to love somebody else? I'm just saying.
Right.
Absolutely. Adriene, thank you for being here. For the listeners, you've been listening to Living Life and Love. I'm your host, Mark Braxton from Raleigh, North Carolina. Y'all take care and peace.
Can we dance forever, babe? Hand in hand together, babe. Can we dance forever, babe? Hand in hand together, babe. Yeah. Saw you standing by the bar, looking like a melody. Your eyes caught mine, you felt like my destiny. You smiled slow, and I lost control. Every heartbeat telling me don't let go. You move close, the DJ dropped that groove. Old school soul, the kind that makes you wanna